Thank you. We have another question here in Las Vegas. Yes, please.
I'm Suna Moz from Green Valley High School. On our debate team, we were discussing sexting and the ramifications, and I came across a piece of information that said sending a nude photo or taking one is in violation of the contract you sign with when you purchase a cell phone. I was wondering that in the case that you do end up taking or sending these pictures, this is twofold. This is a two-folded question. First, who is held liable for it? Is it the one who signed the contract or the one who took the picture? And secondly, what are the ramifications for this contract violation?
Panel members in any of our venues?
You are going to law school after this, right?
I would note that contract rights, you generally have to refer to the contract itself to know who are the appropriate parties. Generally, the person who can be prosecuted under a contract is the person who engaged in it, and the penalties will usually be prescribed within the contract itself.
All right.
This Judge Puccinelli, I just think that this is a probably a CYA provision in the contract by the cell phone company to protect itself from being some sort of party to this sexting business. I never really sat down and read my entire cell phone contract, but if it's in there, I think that they're just trying to protect themselves, and I agree with the previous speaker that it's whatever the contract says is what would happen. I would presume that would be that they could terminate your service if they wanted to. That would be my guess.
Principal West, I understand that you came to us with a bit of an agenda, some questions or some concerns that you might have had.
I don't know if I'd say an agenda, but, and I'm just a dean. I don't want to get my principal in trouble.
Concerns?
My concerns with this whole issue is that at the school level, it's really difficult. Kids don't understand. The student from Clark, his point is well taken that students have privacy rights. And the reality is when you explain to them that where the police need probable cause as school administrators, we just kind of need reasonable suspicion. And cell phones are left all over the place. And we find a cell phone after lunch. And absolutely in that dean's office, we check every bit of information we can on that cell phone to see what is there, because we really believe that as a school, our first obligation is, as Dr. Lee said, is to their education. And we want to make sure we have a great relationship with our parents and that we're letting them know that when they come to school, that we're protecting them at school as well. And whether that means during the day they have the opportunity or they're using their phones, that they are using them responsibly. And in the Clark County School District, students are allowed to use the phone before school, after school, and during lunch. And obviously, if there's things like that that are going on and then getting passed around, we would take that very seriously and bring in the law. And I think that's such a surprising piece that the kids hear. They hear these little sound bites that, I have privacy, I have First Amendment rights, and that they understand that their age doesn't necessarily mean, and the concern of the school to educate them doesn't mean that all of their rights as adults exist at the school level.
We have a question that's come in on one of our Twitter lines, feeds, that asks, juveniles see this as innocent. Why does putting consequences on an act help the kids doing it? We're going to toss this to Carson. Carson, do you wish to respond? Reno, Elko, Las Vegas?
Reno can answer it. This Judge Steinheimer, Judge Seda, I did get this question, and I asked my panel to kind of look at it, and I think the Deputy District Attorney has a comment.
Juvenile court primarily operates under two premises. One is that the job of juvenile court is to look at the best interest of the juvenile in front of them, but also the community. And as a prosecutor, I think that part of that duty includes educating young people about what the law is and providing consequences when the law has been violated, as well as providing some assistance in helping that juvenile to not violate the law in the future. So while a teenager may see this as innocent behavior, it is against the law if it connotes child pornography. And the truth of the matter is there are many things that adults might be able to do that children are legally not allowed to do. So even though the teenagers may see it as innocent, if it is against the law, it could result in them receiving some fairly significant consequences. And that's part of what juvenile court does, is provide consequences and education about what the laws are, as well as providing some help and rehabilitation. So I do believe that juveniles do things that they are later prosecuted for that they did not understand at the time were as serious as they are, but that is what happens, and with some regularity.
Mr. Cervantes? Oh, and Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you, Ms. Wicks. I think those are really good points, but I also think that our laws, frankly, are lagging behind some of these technologies, and that we need to perhaps think about crafting some new laws to more effectively target the sexting behaviors, as opposed to some of the older laws that we've had on the books for years and years. And I think that where we are right now is a good start, and having these discussions and these dialogues about this issue is important, because I think that there are certainly some advances that we could make in the law, and not necessarily putting teenagers on sex offender registries and notifying communities when, frankly, that doesn't always fit the bill.
Mr. Cervantes?
I think it's important to note that although they feel it's innocent, if it is a charged crime and there are consequences, there are a range of consequences, including community notification if some of these charges rise to that level. I think that's important for juveniles and parents to know, that the consequences have a wide range, including such consequences as notification.
I believe our public defender here in Las Vegas, Ms. Roski, would like to respond.
Thank you. I think a serious question comes up in this scenario. We have these child pornography laws to protect children, to keep children from being victimized by having sexual representations of them in the public arena. And when you have a child who produces that pornography, the question is, who are we protecting? And it raises a serious issue. And I think that when we talk about writing laws, that we need to take this into recognition, that a child is different than an adult, and a child taking a picture of himself or herself is not looking at the broad question of children being victimized when they're the victim. And we need to keep in mind that children are different. Right now in Clark County, we are seeing the prosecutor's office moving to certify children involved in child pornography to the adult system. So it has extremely serious ramifications. So I would, ask, the public to keep this in mind when we're rewriting the laws about sexting.